Hi, and welcome to this video series on Introduction to Microsoft Excel 2007. This is being brought to you by learningcomputer.com. Today we will look at the Formulas tab, so let's jump right into it. In Microsoft Excel 2007, mathematical computations are typically done by built-in functions and formulas. Excel has a library of several hundred functions that will let you perform a number of mathematical and statistical calculations. For example, you can use the sum function to add up numbers. You could use the average function on a list of records, the PMT function to figure out payment on an interest loan, so on and so forth. So basically in Excel we have a lot of functionality related to formulas right out of the box. The key point is to really find some of these functions and to get good at using some of these. So for our lesson today we will be using grades workbook. We have already looked at this in when we talked about the home tab. So as far as the function library, first of all let us try the Autosum command. Before I do that, let me switch quickly to our gradebook in case you have not seen this. Basically what I have is my students listed on the left side, and then our column headings here show all the different assignments and the midterm and whatnot. The second row here lists actually the maximum score for that particular application, which really sums up to 1,000 points. And then in the middle here are the actual scores, and the columns that are just left out, those are the ones that we will be using today to figure out some of these formulas. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. We would like to first thing that we need to look at is the total scores achieved by every student across all the assignments and tests. Okay, and as we're working on this, we will observe the formula bar, and then using various options which include right click, keyboard, fill handle, using F4, we'll copy the formula. So I want to show you basically different ways you can do the same thing. Next, we need to compute the average for all the class coursework, and that will be done in row 15. Now for the average, we were actually going to click on the insert function instead of the Autosum option. And then finally, the note here it says is that all functions start with an equal to sign and need cell reference. So that's an important point to remember, that when you start working with any of these functions, you have to start out with the equal to sign. So enough discussion on that. Let's get to work. So like I mentioned, the first thing I need to do is for example, Jessica Kevin, these are her scores, and we would like to know that, okay, overall, what did she do? By the way, I'm going to switch to the formulas tab so you can see this. Um, so we'll compute the total points that she received. After we do that, we are going to essentially use the same concept for the other students, and that's what I'm talking about, that once I have the formula in here, I want to be able to copy that same information to the other students. How do I do that? So the first thing you need to do is select the cell that we would be inserting the formula in, which is L6 in our case. Then I'm going to browse to the function library group, and first of all I'm going to use the Autosum option. So I can simply click on this. Now when I did that, a few things happened. First of all, notice the sort of like highlighted area around this. Excel is smart enough to know that, okay, if you're trying to sum here, there's a good chance that you're going across the row, which is correct. And the next thing you'll notice is that it started the formula, which is equal to sum brackets, and then the beginning cell reference, which is B6, and the last cell, which is K6. So this in our case looks actually perfect. So I will just go ahead and hit enter, and that was not that hard, pretty painless. Now, few things I want to mention here. If you go up here, you'll notice that this is what's called the formula bar. Okay, so as we're working on these formulas, you could also do an F2 right in the cell to kind of go back to where we were, and it'll show you the formula here, but it will also show you up here. Now, how do I copy this? So for polymanson, we'd like to use the same formula. The easiest thing to do is to come up here, do a control C. Okay, notice that now we got this blinking rectangle. This is essentially our source formula, and then I go to my destination, which is going to be L7, and then I will do a control V. Okay, I tend to use the keyboard a lot, so it works for me. Now if I go in here and I browse my formula bar, notice that Excel essentially copied the formula for this row, which is 7, and it went from B7 to K7, and we can verify that up here. So that was one way to copy the formula. You could obviously do a right click here, select copy, come down here, do paste. And another trick that I learned, which is kind of neat, is to use the F4 key. What essentially it's going to do is repeat the last command. So I go to my next location, which is L9, and then just hit F4. So that's pretty sweet. I did not know that until recently, and I can essentially keep doing that. Now, the most common method of copying formulas is probably using the fill handle. And what is the fill handle? When you move your mouse to the bottom right corner, you'll notice that it switches to this really well, plus sign, I guess, a thin plus sign. Now what I can do is I can left click on my mouse and then just drag this. Okay, and what's that gonna do is it's gonna copy that formula into our adjacent cells. And I can check this by, if I go to Scott Nelson's record, um, he is in row 14, so that formula looks perfect. So those are some of the ways you can copy formulas. So our total scores are looking good. Now I'm going to come down to this average. Okay, and now for this, what I'm trying to do is I would like to sort of get an idea of how the average is looking. Possibly, you know, if the average is too low for some of these assignments and midterms, you know, maybe I made it a little too hard. So the way I'm going to do this is instead of using the Autosum, which by the way, if you do a drop down here, you will see that average is here also. I could have used that, but I want to show you this insert function command. When I click on that, essentially it brings a new dialog box titled insert function, and I can simply go ahead and type in the type of function that I'm looking for. If there is one that exists, it will go ahead and recommend that. So it found the average function. I can click on OK, and then it takes me to the function arguments dialog box. And once again, notice that Excel was smart enough to select B6 through B14. I could also enter another number here if I wanted to. It gives you a little bit of explanation. There's also a link to a help section. I will just go ahead and click OK. And so that worked pretty nicely. Now again, I could do Control C, Control V, and you know, kind of keep going like that. But I do want to show you one more thing. You could also, if you happen to know the function, you could simply type equal to an average, and